Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning to my friends in Australia. I hope everybody's doing well. Happy Thursday. I know today it's Red Shirt Thursday, and it was a red day for the markets, to say the least. S&P down 670 or 670. The S&P down about 109 points, 1.67%. NASDAQ down more than 2%. S&P or Dow still down 1.3. And we've been talking about this. The selling has really not come from most of the market. It's really come from the top end. Folks, one, let me know where you're coming from. And then two, let me know when you think of AI, artificial intelligence, what is the first stock that pops to your head? What is the first stock that you think of when you think about artificial intelligence? Is it Burlington Northern Santa Fe? Is it Walmart? Is it gold? Is it FCX? I'm seeing a lot of William is being funny. We're seeing a few variants on the suggestion, but all in all, the number one pick out of everybody when they think of AI, the quintessential AI stock, it's NVIDIA. All right. And why? Well, at the onset of AI, we knew that these GPUs were going to be valuable. We knew that they were going to be important. We knew they were going to be a part of AI. And so we spent, as traders, as investors, call it 18 months trying to catch up with NVIDIA. On a 2-year chart, in February of 2024, NVIDIA was $72. At its peak, at the end of October, it had moved up 200% to $210. Even with the selling on Thursday, it's trading $185. However, what I think is throwing people for a loop is that since the end of the third quarter in 2025, September 30th, on that day, NVIDIA closed 186.58. 186.58. Traders, where did NVIDIA close today? The answer, 186.94. In 2.5 quarters, NVIDIA has managed to rally 36 cents. Now, we all know it's rallied. It's been up and down more than that. But you see my point. If you bought NVIDIA in September, you're basically sitting on dead money. It's been dead money. Which means traders have been kind of buying and selling, not every day, but over time, the amount of shares bought versus the amount of shares sold, roughly the same. So there's new money entering the market, though, every single day. There's money rotating. So why has NVIDIA been dead since September? Stocks make their biggest moves while people are figuring it out. Not once they have it figured out. Right? Like, think about the Super Bowl. You make the most money in the first quarter. If you're betting on the Seahawks, you make a lot more money betting on the Seahawks to win before the game starts than with 2 minutes left to go. NVIDIA is not overowned. It's not. It's not really, probably not overvalued. It's now what we would call fully valued. Fully valued means we know what the build-outs are going to look like. We know how much money they're going to make, and we can properly price without, unless there's new information, where NVIDIA belongs. Overvalued is when we've kind of overestimated how much a company is going to make, when we've kind of call it over figuring out, overthinking. We've got it so figured out that we've actually don't have it figured out. And now, as you're about to learn about, there is a whole new group of stocks that are in that figuring out phase where we're just starting to realize how much they're going to make with AI. That seminal moment where AI goes from NVIDIA's building data centers to AI is helping company X increase margins by 3%. It's AI 2.0. It's AI 2.0. And Hans was out front of AI 1.0. Wish I'd have listened to him even more than I did. And now he's ready to lead you into AI 2.0. So, Hannah's going to come on here in a second and talk to you a little bit more. But what I need you to do, because this next 45 minutes to an hour is going to be the most important for investors, I think, that want to be involved in AI, that you're going to see that's going to affect the rest of your year in terms of your investment and your trading. So I would invite you to open up a Google Doc, start taking notes, open up Word, shut down Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, Christian, shut it down, and lock in here, because Hans has given away some really important information, and Hannah is the perfect person to guide that process with you. And answer the questions that you already have. She has as well, and she's going to ask them. So, got a great audience here. Everybody tell me, only a couple people told me where you're from.
Hi, Mark.
Tell me, and hey, Hannah, tell us where you're from. And Hannah, I think I laid out exactly what's coming their way, and I'm as excited as them.
One thing that you said that I think is so true is every time I talk to Hans about this, I think I should have spent more time going through this. Like I should have put more money in these stocks in the wave that Hans was talking about a year ago. So I want to just reassure everyone here that you're not too late. There are a lot of opportunities coming. Today, we're actually going to give more away for free than we normally give away, which I'm really excited about. We have 12 stocks total that we're going to talk to you about today. Some of them are income stocks that you should trade income on. We'll talk about that. Some of them are great just to own or to buy calls on. There's a lot of opportunity still to be had. So, Mark, thank you for warming things up. If Hans is here, let's pipe him in. Happy Red Shirt Thursday, Mark. Stick around. We've got some good stocks for you too.
Absolutely. Everybody have a great day. Lock in. You're not going to want to miss any of this. Take it away,
Hi, Hans. How you doing?
Hey, Mark and Hannah. How you doing? I'm doing great.
Hans, did you listen to the music before this event? It was eerie.
Was it? I don't. Before Mark started?
Yeah, it was a little. It was spacey. It was reminding me of the conversation that we had earlier, which I don't know if you guys feel this way about AI, but if you start reading stuff about AI and really get into it, you can freak yourself out about it. That's not what we're going to do here today. We're going to talk to you guys about some very specific opportunities, in a few of them in stocks that you do know, and some of them in stocks that you won't know. We're going to talk about what Hans has built over decades trading options, and a way that he uses a specific tool to find confirmation on these opportunities. So like Mark said, get something to write things down. We're going to talk about some specific stocks today. Some of them we're going to go through a little bit quickly. So I'll send this out to all of you afterwards so you'll have access to it, but I would be ready to take some notes. Justin, can you pull up the slides for me? We're going to talk about today the dawn of the singularity, which sounds super intense. Here's what you're going to walk away with today. 6 out of the 7 Mag 7 stocks have gotten hit over the last 30 days. Some of them are down double-digit percentages. We're going to talk about which ones you don't want to own and one that you actually do. We're going to talk about that today. Hans predicts that there's 12.9 trillion up for grabs over the course of the next year. We're going to talk about which stocks he thinks are going to generate that. We're going to walk you guys through his 90-day action plan. And we said we were going to give you 9 stocks, but we're actually going to talk about 12 today that are kind of your starter pack for grabbing this second wave of AI. And then we're going to show you the trade confirmation tool that Hans has used to win every 9 out of 10 AI trades. It's a 90% win rate across all trades. We're going to go through that track record. So Hans, we're using some big scary words, whether it's event horizon or singularity. For those of us who maybe aren't super nerds or into this, can you talk us through what this means and where we're at right now? Let's set the table.
Yeah, so you hear of this talked about as the singularity, right? And we'll kind of touch upon that in a moment. But I kind of like the event horizon. I haven't heard anybody else use it, but the event horizon is, maybe it's because I love that movie, The Black Hole, when I was a kid. And and I remember the event horizon is where you cross a line towards the black hole and suddenly things start going a little crazy. Things get stretched, the laws of physics break down. Gravity ends up being so strong that nothing can escape, even light, right? That starts to happen, apparently, in the event horizon. But you kind of don't realize it until you're in there. And I think the interesting thing is that the singularity is kind of like a destination, whereas the event horizon is an experience. And I think we're in that experience. And I think we're actually near the beginning of that experience. And I think that's what makes this interesting.
So this is approximately where we
So
are. You guys can see on the horizon here.
you are here.
And then the
This is very
singularity
scientific.
right. The singularity is like inside of this. So you guys are learning your fun facts today. You can go tell your wife or your husband or your kids or grandkids what you now know about black holes. But the singularity is basically what we're approaching. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. We're approaching a place where, in a sense, you can't think linearly anymore, right? You have to start thinking exponentially. Capabilities are compounding as the cost of intelligence comes down, and recursive AI. We're going to talk about all that stuff. So things are doing something that doesn't look like a straight line, which tends to be, even analysts think that way. And I think we need to kind of expand our horizons in terms of how we think of this. Here we go. The dawn of the singularity. There you go. So the singularity is really where, in my mind, we start to approach it in the event horizon where AI starts to surpass human intelligence. And it's happening. You know, there's some talk that is sort of 140 IQ now, and it's going to make its way up, right? It's starting to get very good. It's starting to learn from itself. And we'll talk about how the sort of evolution happens. It's actually kind of a fascinating history. But it's not just answering questions. It's not just some sort of fancy chatbot, right? It's not just writing code. It's rewriting its own code. The new Claude LLM out there, not to bore you guys, is one of these big AIs. It essentially wrote itself. And when you start to examine what that means, it means that you're having AI feed AI, and you kind of create this nonstop loop, right? There's no limit to the resources, you know, as long as you have power, and the repercussions of that become exponential. And that's what happens as you get through this event horizon towards the singularity.
I'm curious, for those of you that are here today, there's over 150 people in the room. Hopefully you can use the chat on the side of your screen. Give me a yes if you're using AI every day, whether it's ChatGPT, Claude, whatever it might be. Give me a yes if you use it every day and a no if you don't. I was reading something today, and I have a group chat with some friends, and we talk about anything. We've never talked about AI before, but someone sent an article in there today, and I was reading it, and it's easy to read this stuff and it kind of frightens you. Am I going to lose my job? Is AI going to take my job? What should I be doing to prevent this from happening? And currently, and Hans, I'm wondering if you agree with this, currently, my point of view on AI is that the people who are going to win or stay at the front of this are the ones who understand it and can use it. There are things that it can help make your life easier for. And I'm not just talking about using ChatGPT as a search engine. We're going to start talking about that more here at Option Pit. I'm going to start bringing the traders on, have them talk about how they're using AI, and just show you what they're working on. I think to ignore AI at this point is really a mistake. I know Mark uses it in some of his trading to upload track records and things like that and ask it what it's noticing, just to take large dumps of information and data and diagnose it. So, I mean, I'm seeing a bunch of yeses, a bunch of nos. It sounds like we're kind of split in the room on how much people are using it. But no matter how much you use it personally, you can't deny that over the last 3 years, it has been the leading force for the Mag 7 that has really taken them to the top of the market. And yes, over the last couple of months, we've seen a correction there. And that money, what we're going to talk about today, is flowing other places. And Hans has pinpointed where those places are. But I wanted to show you guys this quick quote. This is from the director of engineering at Google. And this just goes to show Hans is not the only one who's saying these things. He said artificial intelligence will reach human levels around 2029. It's his prediction, of course, and multiply the intelligence of civilization a billionfold by 2045, which I can't even imagine, and you probably can't even imagine what that really means. But the question I have for you, Hans, is why are we talking about this now? So what has pushed you know, there's a big announcement at the beginning of this presentation. We're at the dawn of the singularity. That's a big claim. Like, why now? What made this happen right now? Or what pushed you to say that finally we're at this point?
Well, it's essentially over the past couple months, we've really kicked things into overdrive. In terms of, and we talked about this 6-7 months ago in presentations, saying, listen, there's a sort of utility moment with AI, right? So you had the building of AI with NVIDIA just really doing incredibly well, and a few other stocks, and getting to the point where the inference takes over, and all that is a big word for, well, how do we put this to use? How do we make it think and give us insight and help us? And that's the stage we're in, where it's starting to seep its way into, and there's very clear data showing that it's seeping its way into the rest of the economy, which is part of what the broadening is about. And so it's very powerful, because that stage of AI is the gears don't stop turning, right? They just keep going and going and going. And in the last couple months, really 6 weeks, we've seen a number of products come out. Claude bot, Molt bot, different things, different names. I think it's called OpenClaw. It is called OpenClaw right now. And it's the ability to really start to accomplish things. And so I think what's really started to hurt the software sector and other areas as well is the thought that this is actually becoming a very useful, it's not just something that gives you a little bit of information. It becomes an assistant. It becomes a worker. You can have a team of AI agents and workers to help you out. And I think it's blowing away all expectations for what should have happened by now. So I think we are accelerating, right? This is the area where I think 2026.
So let me ask you this. Yeah. Let me ask you this. You can say we're accelerating, but here's what we've seen over the last couple of weeks. Amazon is down to 201, where it hasn't been in 9 months. Google's down 11%. Microsoft's down 26% in the last 4 months. Tesla's down 22%. Why is this happening if you're saying that AI is accelerating? What caused this to happen?
Well, and that's the very, very important part of today's conversation, is that it's shifting, right? AI is shifting from one area to another. And it's, in a sense, it's what has to happen, right? When you think of the singularity of the event horizon, how does all that happen? How does all this incredible stuff start to happen for us? Well, it can't just be sitting in NVIDIA's front office. It has to move into the broader economy. And this is the natural course of how these things play out. And so as that happens, some of those early winners are no longer in that really, really strong position, and things move into a different part of the build, and the beneficiaries kind of change a little bit. And I think it's very hard for people to understand that or shift their mind, right? The top of everybody's watch list is Microsoft, Apple, in a few of the Mag 7s, the same old stocks. And this is what we're talking about today.
Well, it's counterintuitive, right? How many of you here, if you see these leading AI stocks have a large correction, Hans is saying that actually means he's more bullish AI. We're moving into a different sort of era of this movement overall, but it doesn't immediately look that way. So one of the things we want to show you guys today, which is really important, what sets Hans apart in order to know this. I just showed you some corrections that happened in Mag 7 stocks over the last few months. And here was one that happened on Amazon. Hans has built a tool that gives him confirmation when a stock has momentum and also when a stock does not. And what I want to show you here is that this tool actually had made it so that Hans avoided all 4 of these Mag 7 corrections we just showed you. I'm going to show you a couple of examples of this. So you can see here, I want you to notice on the bottom of your screen what's in the black box. There's some yellow lines and some red lines. We're going to talk about this more in just a second and describe exactly what these are. But as you can see, when the lines down there went yellow or red, it coincides with the stock price above going down. You can see this first dip, and then you can see the second dip. These are both on Amazon in the last 6 months. These told us to get out of the stock. So that means that Hans was able to avoid a drop from 245 to 215, and more recently a drop all the way down to almost less than 200. Here's another example on Google. Same thing. Below you could see, normally if the line is green, that means we have momentum. We want to be in the stock or buying calls. If it switches to yellow or red, it's encouraging us to get out. We avoided a drop here at the end. Here's another one with Microsoft. Flips to yellow, flips to red, we're out. And if you exit at that first arrow, that means you got out when Microsoft was still above almost $520. And right now it's sitting close to 400. Here's another one on Tesla, shows you the exits. Now, what's really interesting about this tool, and what Hans is going to get into more in just a second, is you're like, why are you sharing this information with me, Hannah? Why couldn't you tell me this a month ago that I should have sold my Microsoft or sold my Tesla or sold my Amazon? Well, if you're a member of Turbo Income, you probably did. The tool that we're going to show you today that gives this trade confirmation or takes it away is something that all Turbo Income members have access to. And it doesn't only tell you when to get out, it tells you when to get back in. So you can see here on the bottom of your screen, when it went all green, that's telling you, that's giving you an entry. That's telling you to get back into this stock, whether it's buying calls or just buying stock. In this specific example, this is on Tesla still, you would have grabbed a run from 430 to 490. And then at the top, after you juiced that run, grabbed all $60 of it, whether you bought the stock or a lot more if you bought the options, then it tells you to get out. You see it flip to yellow there. Are you guys tracking with me right now? You kind of following this? So the confirmation is what I'm looking at below. I see those yellow lines, red lines, green lines. They're telling Hans when a stock has momentum or it doesn't have momentum. Give me a yes in the chat if you're tracking with me there. It's really important that you understand the correlation between this confirmation we're seeing or not seeing and how it coincides with the stock price. Because it looks like Hans is just telling, it looks like you have a magic 8-ball or something, but really you're using this tool. And today we're going to unpack how you built the tool, what's inside of it, and why it works so well. Do you have anything to add to that, Hans, from using this tool?
Well, that's it. You nailed it, Hannah. And so it really is showing you that where the money is flowing, right? Is the money walking towards the Mag 7 or is it walking away from these top AI stocks that we've come to know so well? Well, it's walking away. So I knew before it happened that this was going to be a challenging area. And that's really part of the beauty of this tool is as this is happening, some other things are starting to show the positive shoots that this sector had for so very long. So it's really, you're able to figure out things that are happening before you hear about it on CNBC 3 months later. That's what a great tool does for you.
Exactly. And Mark was talking about that today a little bit. He said, you don't hear about a stock on the news or in the paper or whatever before it makes a run. You hear about it afterwards. This is really a forecasting tool. So we're going to show you guys in just a second what this color confirmation looks like on some of the Mag 7 stocks. We're going to show you what it looks like on some AI picks and shovels, the companies that Hans says money is moving into. But I just want to show you really quick. If you rewind on this chart, go back in the past, okay? Go back in the past. You can see what this chart would have looked like when you made these decisions. So if a yellow is going to tell me to sell, okay, I would have gotten out there, and then you see kind of the correction that happens. When I would have gotten that green, which tells me to get in, this is all you would have seen at that time. That's the run you could have captured. Again, you see the yellow, it tells you you want to sell off. There's the correction. So for those of you who may not know Hans very well, we got a little ahead of ourselves going through the examples. I want to show you guys, I want Hans to be able to tell you a little bit about himself, his background. He was a market maker and then has extensive experience, working for hedge funds, building actually his own ETFs. So, Hans, do you want to kind of run us through this? Because your experience is extensive and we haven't really gotten into this deeply before when we've been live, but you actually told me a fun fact. You're the youngest person to ever trade on the Toronto Stock Exchange floor.
The youngest pro option specialist. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I was down there, like in Trading Places, the hand signals and everything. And it was absolute madness, just like in the movie at times, not all the time. And so I just loved it. Somebody said, "Do you want to do this?" And I said, "Well, okay, that sounds kind of interesting." And it was a grind for 5 or 6 months until it really started to click. And then after that, I became top trader on the team for like 10 of 16 years or something like that. And sometimes making twice as much as the next guy. And it was really this kind of exciting environment. So my history is very much kind of two different worlds, which is being that pro options market maker, pro trader on the floor, and then eventually moving to another role where I was managing and building a whole bunch of these option income funds. So very much, long options, playing swings, and then very much on the income side of things. So really good deep history. You can see some of my better years there in the good old days. And then a portfolio manager running about 12 different income ETFs for a decade, which was fun, and running that suite of AI, robotics, big data funds, which of course people were talking about back in 2016, 2017, 2018,
Right.
but has just really had this resurgence lately.
Well, and we actually have a couple excerpts here. This is from 2019. You can see there on the date, and this is back when you were at Horizons, which is now Global X. They managed $60 billion last year. And you can see, you said that during this presentation, Hans, which you gave on robotics, automation, and AI back in 2019, you were actually talking to investors about buying NVIDIA.
Yeah, NVIDIA was $4 pre-split back then. Of course, we know it's $190 now. So, this was sort of the early emergence of NVIDIA as an incredibly important part of this big build out, the GPUs versus CPUs and all that stuff. So, really trying to convince people and say, listen, you have no clue how much data we're about to create, how much we need these chips. And so we're seeing the end result of that right now, as things really do accelerate. There's sort of this thing that happens with technology where the dreams are much, much bigger than the capabilities. I think it's actually the opposite now. I think I think we're actually realizing the dreams and then some, and that's what makes it exponential.
This here that you guys can see on the screen, this was one of the funds that Hans built and was running at Horizon, which it was a gold yield ETF, which I'll have you just explain a little bit about what that is, Hans. But you actually won an award called the Lipper, which is basically, what is that for ETFs? Can you compare it to a different award?
It's like winning an Oscar. It's like winning an Oscar. There's a speech, and you thank your mom and you thank everybody for. No, it's not like an Oscar. It's a wonderful accolade in the industry. Recognition for what you've done. And there's another little snippet there where it shows 2 out of my income funds were in a top 5, respected top 5 list. So, and these income funds basically using options to generate income on your gold holdings, right? Your minor stocks, your gold itself. And the income game has really gotten even bigger since then, but it was really starting to pick up. So I was proud of that.
And then you mentioned you also worked on a Black Swan fund in 2014 to 2016. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because it does feel AI, at least at the beginning, was sort of a Black Swan anomaly. But you have professional experience recognizing these chaotic events and positioning yourself to profit from them.
Yeah, and so this was really creating a basket of stocks, S&P 500, different baskets that effectively would take advantage of a severe sell-off in markets. So, I had the background as a market maker. Probably some of my best years, Hannah, were in those down markets. I hate to say it, but in some of those really terrible market environments is where I really shined, because I really understood that aspect of it. So that helped me get involved here. And create these products that really did exactly that. The market's down 40%, you're going to make a fortune. So those are fun products.
Let's talk about some AI inflection points. obviously the history of AI has been long. There are 4 points that you highlighted to me as significant in the history of AI and kind of point us towards where we're at today. You guys can see on the screen right now what these 4 points are. We're really going to focus on 2 of them here today. The first one is in 2016, and Hans, you and I spoke about this for nearly an hour the other day. You pointed to this moment. You said that Google DeepMind's AlphaGo. It actually defeated a top-ranked human player at a game called Go, which I'd never heard of before. You want to talk about this a little bit? Like, why, out of the history of AI, did you pick this moment as being extremely significant?
Yeah, so this was a big moment because back in 97, we had, the IBM supercomputer winning at chess, but that was a bit sort of brute force, just basically, if then, if this happens, I do this. And it just got very good at very simple, what we almost wouldn't call it AI at this point. 2016, this was a big moment, right? So it beat a player named Lee Sedol, and in the Chinese game of chess, which if you've seen it before, is a big board, has all of these moves. It actually has more possible moves in it than there are atoms in the universe, and you could look it up. It's literally mind blowing.
We actually have a clip of it. Justin, can you roll that clip? I want everyone to kind of see this.
Cool.
This moment.
Go is the pinnacle of board games. It's the most complex game ever devised by man. There are more possible board configurations in the game of Go than there are atoms in the universe.
Go is the holy grail of artificial intelligence. For many years, people have looked at this game and they've thought, wow, this is just too hard. Everything we've ever tried in AI, it just falls over when you try the game of Go.
Our ultimate next step is to play the legendary Lee Sedol in just over 2 weeks. Lee Sedol is probably one of the greatest players of the last decade. I describe him as the Roger Federer of Go. He's very famous for very creative fighting play. So this could be difficult for us. The way we start off training AlphaGo is by showing it 100,000 games that strong amateurs have played. And we first initially get AlphaGo to mimic the human player. And then through reinforcement learning, it plays against different versions of itself many millions of times and learns from its errors.
That's a very surprising move.
I think we've seen an original move here. Yeah, that's an exciting move.
So I actually had a poke around in AlphaGo to see what AlphaGo thought, and AlphaGo actually agreed with that assessment. AlphaGo said there was a 1 in 10,000 probability that move 37 would have been played by a human player.
알파고는 실은 확률적 계산을 하고 그냥 이기기 위한 그런 머신에 불과하다고 생각을 했었는데 충분히 알파고도 창의적이다.
The game of Go has been studied for thousands of years, and AlphaGo discovered something completely new.
If that isn't mind-blowing, imagine how long it's been, as they just said, thousands of years, and it invented a new move, right? It made a move that really had never been done before. And so that's really where you start to have this idea of recursive, the AI learning from AI, learning from itself. It's quite incredible. And that was a big moment. And that was even 2016.
Right. So that kind of brings us to now.
And also, Hannah, worth mentioning that other moment, 2019, was beating some pro players. And if anybody out there has played Texas Hold'em, it isn't just math, right? There's behavior. And so that was that was a real big moment for me as well, when it was able to do things that were not just mathematical, but in terms of interpreting behavior and really starting to beat poker players, which, if you know some of the good ones, they're always at the final table. And it's not just math. It's they're good at something else, something beyond the math. And the AI was actually able to do that, which is incredible.
Sure. It's reading creativity. It's reading body language. It's evolving to understand things just beyond the math of the odds or the probability. It's
the bluffing and everything.
Graduated to the next level. So when that brings us to now, Hans, and you're saying like these evolutions of AI, learning, getting smarter, that makes obvious sense to me. And that brings us to now, which you're saying is sort of the beginning of the dawn of the singularity, which is we are crossing over into the moment where this is the snowball starting to roll down the hill now. And walk me through a little bit like why that is happening. So let's talk about that a little bit. The money that's coming out of Mag 7, where is it going?
Well, it eventually, for things to start to spread and realize these sort of untold benefits to society, which are going to start, which are starting to come in. There will be some negatives as well. It needs to be built, right? So this needs to be built in such a way that we call it the picks and shovels, and in this case, it almost is quite literally the picks and shovels. It's more of the physical world. It's more of the part of the world I call it retiling the earth, right? You're quite literally almost like revitalizing, reindustrializing the earth, and we've seen a move into many of these kinds of stocks lately, and that's the natural progression of how things work. Now it starts to push into everything, into devices and machines and very physical world, and the world that we've been trading for the last couple of years is not as physical. The Nvidias are. But it's been a little bit more in the ether, a little bit more in the digital realm.
Right. I love this. WA says going into all assets that can hit your toe. Exactly. That we are moving into the physical world. And that's because all AI needs these 4 components to operate that you can see on the screen here. Computing power, energy, data, software. And by software, we mean sort of a new type of software. So I'm following you. This makes total sense. I get this. But I'm wondering, and I'm sure people here are wondering also, like, where is the proof? Because I follow the story. I see what you're saying. I believe you. But your belief, yes, you have a big background in AI, but if you believe in this, if I believe in this, it doesn't really mean anything. Like, how do we narrow this down to the best opportunities now? How do we know which of the companies that are going to be able to provide some of these physical solutions? How do we know that they're the best opportunity? Which ones are they?
Well, the truth is we don't, right? We don't. And I mean, opinions can be educated opinions, but they can be, everybody's got an opinion, right? Opinions are like, lots of, everyone's got one. I won't get into that. But listen, but that's why you need story. You need something behind your trade, but you also need something that gives you confirmation. And that's why I spent the last decade refining a tool that does exactly this, that cuts through the temptation to follow the noise and what you're seeing on TV and what your neighbor did or what somebody tells you about at the water cooler. And it's the one that you saw earlier with the red, the yellow, the green, the highlights, because every trade needs that confirmation, right? And I can sit here and think of all kinds of great ideas, and I've had great ideas over time that are not confirmed, and I've gotten hurt on a couple of them. And every time that happens, I always go back to the tool tells you.
Right. I mean, without confirmation, you could buy the wrong stock. You could hold it too long. You could exit too late. You can fall prey to the noise, like you were saying. Without confirmation, really, you can't make a confident trade. And unfortunately, 99% of traders fall victim to that because they don't have a tool that gives them confirmation. Now, for you guys that are sitting here today, you may be like, well, I'm not in that 99%. I have a confirmation tool. You might use moving averages. You might use, RSI. You might have a formula of different things, and I'm looking for this crossover. I'm waiting to see this volume, or you may have confirmation of your own. What I want to talk about and what Hans is going to walk us through is what his confirmation actually means and looks like. He spent a decade building this tool that, by the way, has a 90% win rate. When this tool says to buy something, it is right 9 out of 10 times. So walk us through what we were looking at earlier with those lines, those green, yellow, red lines. That is something you call your market temperature indicator, which is your confirmation.
Right. And this tool is amazing because it's amazing how often if you you don't do what it says, it slaps you upside the head and it says, guess what? I was right again. And you learn over time to really start to trust it, right? And so this MTI came from my time as a floor trader, right? There's noise, of course. You've seen the movies. There's noise, there's headlines, there's emotion, there's opinions. I mean, that the experience of being on the floor is just a larger version of what we all experience out there, right? If you're a trader, you're sitting at home on your own, you experience all these things too. The whole spectrum of fear, greed, everything in between. It's chaos. It plays with your emotions. Markets play with your emotions. So I needed something that could kind of cut through it all and really push things away that aren't going to do me any good and bring those opportunities to me. So it's not a flashy indicator of any kind. It's just distills everything that's kind of gone into my approach over things over time. You know, the trend, the volatility.
I'm gonna sort of debunk that for a second. I mean, you may not think it's flashy because you use it all the time and it's just a green, yellow, or red line. But if I had a tool that tells me 9 out of 10 times a winning trade, I don't know what gets flashier than that, to be honest.
All right, it's a little flashy. It's effective, right? But it's not about prediction. Yeah. We want to take emotion and prediction out of the equation as much as possible. And there's an incredible piece that comes with that, by the way.
So what's actually inside of it? You're not going to give us everything and talk to us about it today, but just for people who are here, I know you get into this more with people who are actually members and are paid members and trade with you live, but just what's inside of it? What is it looking for? What is it measuring?
We've got it's measuring. It has measures of momentum, of sentiment. We've got the stop and reverse in there, the MAC specific parts of the MACD, which everybody's going to know a little bit about, or some people may have heard of. So you got your moving averages, volatility, but really it encapsulates a lot of the things that I really hold dear as a trader, which isn't just technicals. It's things related to how to figure out how the market's feeling. And that's really the kind of beauty of it, because it all, in my mind, everything comes down to really measuring what the market is telling you, because at every moment of the day, it is telling you a story, right? A picture's worth 1,000 words. And that's what the MTI does.
You talk about markets sometimes, Hans, like they have feelings. You'll say like, what is the market feeling? Or this stock is behaving well, or this stock is behaving poorly. It sounds like, no matter how many technical indicators you have on a chart or that you might be using for your own confirmation, there are these sort of intangibles that can affect the way a stock performs over time. And it sounds like you've built some of those inside of the MTI.
Yes, exactly. So the tendency, I'll tell you what, the world has changed and is certainly changing again, but what doesn't change? Behavior. Behavior is a repeatable thing. We are just human, and you can talk about algorithms and things like that, and machines doing it. They're built by us. They overdo it. They do the same things. It's all a different version of behavior. So
at least for now, they're built by us.
At least for now. But it's also influenced by how much money is going into the market, right? Money flows and things like that. There are things out of the control of sort of standard technicals and emotions that it doesn't matter how many computers run the market, you are still going to get things that they're going to overdo it to the upside, overdo it to the downside. And so I really wanted something that would encapsulate that sort of concept, because those are constants over time, and I love that about it. It's a point system, so we can talk about that in a moment.
Yeah, we'll show you guys what that looks like, and we're going to give you some examples in just 2 minutes here. We're going to start to give you some of the stocks. There are several that are yellow on the MTI. Let's talk about what these different colors actually mean and what they correspond to. So red is to sell. If you own it, you want to sell it, or you want to buy puts. Like that is telling us that momentum has expired. And as you saw with some of the Mag 7 examples we already went through, it's not an accident that this goes red and we dip off, or it goes yellow and we dip off. I saw some questions about like, well, it went yellow when you were still in the Hans. When people join as members, he walks you through exactly what the trigger is to exit or enter the trade. The goal is to show you guys the way that this momentum is measured and what's actually happening on the stock chart at the same time. When you get a yellow, Hans, you call this kind of your wait or watch list. This usually means that a stock is going to trade within a range or it's kind of in a holding pattern. So sometimes when you're getting a yellow on the MTI, you'll trade income, you'll bet that the stock will stay within that range. And then when you get the strong green, and we'll show some examples of this, that means you want to buy, either buy the stock, or a lot of times you're using options and buying calls to get more upside. So really, no matter what stock you look at in the market at any time, it's either going to have a red, a yellow, or a green, and there's a trade that you can make off of that, correct?
Yeah. There's almost always a trade. That's the beauty of it. It's telling you when to sit on your hands and when to, for example, right now we have a bearish Microsoft trade on. It's an income trade, but it's a bearish trade. Well, the MTI is telling us that it is in a bearish state.
Interesting. I didn't know that you were shorting some of those. I love that. So you guys can see here what the green, the yellow, the red looks like. One thing you're going to notice here is some of these have, tails on the bottom, like it'll be yellow and then a little red, or it's green and then there's a little red. Like Hans was saying, this is a point system. So obviously a full, tall green is going to be more bullish than a green with a little red on the bottom. This is something that he teaches you as a Turbo Income member when you learn about this. So Hans, let's look at where the opportunity is now. You talked about, and WA said, we are looking for opportunities in tangible, physical companies where, I can drop whatever they make, it's going to hit me on the foot. So let's look at some of those stocks and see if there's any that you want to buy right now. So let's look at this list. What is this list?
Okay, so have you flipped to the list? Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is, you'll notice this is quite concentrated in semiconductors right now. And so as many areas of the tech market get disrupted, as we've seen in the sort of more digital intangible space, which is kind of that low-hanging fruit for Claude bots to kind of disrupt and take over, the physical aspect, and it doesn't have to be power lines, it can be semiconductors, because as this infinite compute plays out over the next many years, we're going to require some of these things. So you'll notice in a moment, we'll talk about NVIDIA. It's an interesting one because it really is part of that physical, part of the physical build out that is going to have to happen over time. It's part of that infrastructure. And then we've got Broadcom. Each of these semiconductors kind of has its own little thing. We've got ASML that's been doing really, really great lithography equipment. So this is incredibly important, especially with countries onshoring, bringing. Did you notice what happened with Taiwan Semiconductor? They're going to be doing even more production in the U.S. You see what's happening? They're moving production away from Taiwan, which is however many miles, not very many miles away from China. There's a sense that this is too important, right? So keep that in mind. It's too important. It's a non-negotiable, as I called it a few months ago. Some things have to be done in order to keep up and win the AI race. And these are very much a part of that.
For those of you that have a notepad out or you're here for the picks, this is your moment. We're going to go through this entire list and show you what the MTI is saying about each of these. This list is 10 of the top AI picks and shovels, like Hans was saying. Some of them are semiconductors. Some of them are even further down kind of the AI supply chain. Cumulatively, these have a market cap of 12.9 trillion. So we're going to go through these one by one, and we're going to show you what the MTI is saying about every single one. So get your notepads out. The first one is Broadcom, AVGO, and this one is actually yellow, which means that it would be on Hans's watch list. You might be trading income on this opportunity. Anything you want to add about AVGO? We're going to go through all of these.
Well, and what we've seen, I used this fancy word earlier, which was dispersion. We've seen that within MAGs, right? We've seen it within the MAG 7, some doing well, some not doing so well, more not doing as well. And we've seen that in semiconductors as well. So Micron being very, very much a part of what we're talking about today, which is scarcity, bottlenecks, the need to kind of keep up with things in a world where there isn't enough stuff. AVGO is one of those ones that probably fits in very well to the build. It's one of my favorite names if I had to pick three out of this list. So we can kind of see things starting to develop in a very positive way. So when it's red, you may see on CNBC that somebody's saying, listen, I got to buy AVGO. You don't, because it's telling you it's red and you need confirmation. We move to yellow. Now you're getting a signal to start the engine. It's quite possible that you're going to want to step on the gas, and you're waiting for this to move into that green zone to really start to feel good about it. That's going to be your confirmation. As everybody else is jumping into false breakouts, it is being patient. And anything that gives me patience, I am very grateful for.
ASML, this one is also yellow, which means it's on our watch list. It might be an income opportunity, but it's not yet in that breakout phase. Make sure you're writing this down. AVGO, yellow. ASML, yellow. Here's another one, Micron Technology. This is also a yellow. It just got done with an extremely strong green. And you can see, I mean, during that period, it ran from what, 225 up to, I mean, at the top there it was 415. There's a couple of yellows in there, but this just got done with a big run. Is this one that you would be watching, Hans, and you're kind of waiting to see if it dips back into the green? It's done that a couple of times here.
Absolutely. I've been watching it very, very carefully. And this is one, turbo incomers or people who've been watching events know that I was excited about this at $160. In fact, I said I love this one way more than NVIDIA, and NVIDIA hasn't moved, as Mark mentioned earlier, and this one at some point almost tripled. So this is a bottleneck stock. We do not have enough memory, and is trading at 10 times earnings, cheaper than where it was at $160. If you can kind of work that through your mind, sometimes a stock can actually be cheaper on a valuation basis. So this is one I'm very, very interested in. When I get confirmation on this one, I am absolutely going to put on a big turbo trade.
And by confirmation, you mean we're going full green, your confirmation MTI.
Yeah. Exactly. And so you saw a nice jump today. You've seen a little bit of positive action, but I think it's still a little bit vulnerable in this kind of market. We want to wait for that final signal that says, boom, it's time to get in.
Here's another one, LRCX. Also just had huge, strong periods of green. We're dipping back here. Am I correct in thinking that maybe there's another entry opportunity coming here for people who are here today and maybe missed all the green up till this point?
Yeah, definitely. There are not going to be enough chips for what we are facing over the next 10 years. So not everyone is made the same, but these are definitely ones I would have on my list waiting for that green light to come. And it couldn't be any more simple than that, right? Red, yellow, green. I mean, that's the beauty of it.
Great question in the chat from Let's Make Money. Love your username, first of all. They were asking if these are on the daily candles. The answer is yes, but you can, if you have the MTI on your own chart, which is something you can buy as a Turbo Income member. We're going to talk about that in just a second. You can do it on any time frame. So if you want to switch to 5-minute candles, you can still see the colors on different timelines. That's a great question. Here's another one. So far, these have all been yellows. AMAT, another yellow on our watch list. Also just saw a strong green period. Would you say that it's true that these can kind of move in tandem, Hans? Like, do you see multiple stocks within a certain sector, like semiconductors or picks and shovels, they all kind of turn green at the same time, or they all turn yellow or red at the same time?
That can happen, but one reason to be aware to have the MTI is to not. That's not necessarily true all the time. And so we've seen at one point, all the mags were basically green, right? Everything's, the tide floated all boats. The very similar thing is actually happening in semiconductors right now. We see Qualcomm absolutely getting crushed lately. So there are some that are doing well and some that aren't. And in my view, in a world of extreme disruption, which is what I think we're in, I think things are changing very quickly. And there are going to be, the market is very much treating the stocks as in a very binary sense, right? Either they're really big winners and they're rewarding those, or they're deemed to be basically they're going to be out of business. It's sure. Neither extreme is probably correct, but you need to be on the right horse. If you've owned SMCI instead of NVIDIA over the last 5 years, you know exactly how important it is to be on the right horse. So this will identify the one that is going better than anything else.
And we're actually going to show an example of that in just a second, because one of the Mag 7 is actually bright green on the MTI. Here is our last yellow. Intel, you traded this several times to the upside, Hans, some of these big green swings. I know you had a couple turbo trades on this. If there's any turbo income members here who have traded any of this, please don't be shy. Talk about your experience with the MTI, how you've actually used this. So all of the ones we've showed you so far are yellow. We have 3 greens from that list, and we're going to actually we're going to give those to you right now. We don't normally do this, but there is opportunity inside of these. Now, you're not going to get the options trades on them that Hans is using or is planning to use, but we'll at least show you the greens so you can know what's at stake here. Hans, you had a promise that you want to make about what the next few years are going to look like. And that's one thing I always ask the trader, as if you guys don't know, I'm the director of product development here. And one of the questions I always ask the traders when they come to me with an idea for one of these events is, how long is this trend you're talking about going to last? Number one. And number two, how much money is there to be made in this trend? Is it 1 or 2 trades, or is this something that is going to be a sustained opportunity? Because 1 or 2 trades can be exciting. It's not going to build your portfolio. So those are the questions I ask. And Hans, this was your answer.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an absolute buffet of opportunity, because this phase of AI is spreading, right? So there are going to be a number of beneficiaries to it, right? And so that's really, I believe this is going to be even bigger, much bigger, in fact, than the wealth that's been created in the last few years. But you have to be in the right places. I think tech, broadly speaking, outside of some of these areas that we're talking about, is going to be quite challenged. And if you're not in the right places where the puck is going to, right, Hannah, you love hockey, you got to skate to where the puck is going. And that's really where this incredible wealth is going to be made. So the wealth isn't going to be made, because the opportunity doesn't sit in apps necessarily so much anymore. It's in the build out, and that's going to be the areas we're focusing on.
And again, you're going to find these opportunities, find those diamonds in the rough through using this confirmation tool. Let's talk about where 3 of those opportunities are right now. So for those of you taking notes, we're going to go through the 3 greens that are bright green on the MTI right now. And then we're going to show you a couple others that the MTI has identified that weren't even on the list of the top AI picks and shovels. These are other downstream opportunities. And the first one is NVIDIA. It's green. Can you talk a little bit about this, Hans? Like, why is this different than the other Mag 7? Why is this green and the others aren't?
Yeah, and I keep hearing people getting negative on it. I mean, they really own the space still. They're making all the right moves. They're moving into the inference phase more and more, and they're really kind of the king of semiconductors. So it's fitting that this is one that's starting to perhaps make that next move into this build out, which is going to include semiconductors and a lot of the infrastructure that we're talking about, right? So it is going to be very much touch field type stuff, and NVIDIA a big part of that. So that's very encouraging to see that green on there.
So you will use the MTI, this confirmation system, on NVIDIA over the next week, 2 weeks. How many greens are you normally looking for before you're buying a call or the stock to the upside? Are you doing it on the first green? Are you waiting for a group? How's that work?
I like to see 2 or 3 greens. I don't want to jump too quickly at a single one, but 2 or 3 is good.
And like we said, there are trades to make at other points of the chart when we're in the yellow or in the red. You might be trading income. You could be shorting the opportunity. Here's the second green, 2 out of 3 greens. And this is Taiwan Semiconductors, which we were talking a little bit about earlier, Hans. It has seen sort of a tear over the last few days, from 320 all the way up to 370. And the MTI is saying it still has room to go even further.
It does. And that's one of the nice things is that, I think as traders, sometimes we make a good trade. We've made a great call, we made a good trade, and then we get out and we're so happy to have put that money in our pockets. And then we watch the thing just keep going and going and going. And so to your point, it's the worst, right? You feel like it's almost worse. You almost wish you'd never seen the stock because it just keeps going. At least that's how I always feel. So I'm a greedy guy. I want to make money all the way. And so to your point earlier, I remember I don't think we have the chart, but Google had this incredible run to about 270. Then it went sideways. Well, the MTI was green, and then it went yellow for about a month and a half, and then it went green again. And so you were able to kind of go turbo, income focused, and then turbo again. So there really was, you're absolutely speaking the truth. There are ways to play each phase within the journey that the MTI takes.
All right, so we got a green on NVIDIA. We got a green on TSM. We also have a green on TXN. This is Texas Instruments. Now, this has been sort of back and forth between green, yellow, green, yellow. What's this chart telling you right now? This confirmation?
Yeah, it's uncertain. I'm not getting that solid confirmation that I want to see. And you can see, looking back on that chart, it's just a little, it's a little bit too patchy, right? And so that's okay. I mean, you could love Texas Instruments all you want. If you're not getting the confirmation, well, guess what? There are thousands of other stocks out there that may be worthy of your time. And so one of the great things about the MTI, maybe we don't talk about this enough, is that you only have the amount of resources that you have. You only have so much attention. You only have so much money. And the ability to stay away from things that aren't necessarily giving you all the signals you want is a real advantage. That's a real advantage to have. Not only because getting the wrong stuff, I see people run into stocks, catching a falling knife on something that has an MTI of red,
Sure.
and they get killed on it. And I say, well, you never got the signal. But when you get hurt like that, you not only lose money, it takes you out of the game to be able to focus on things that are giving you the right setup. So I don't lose sleep over this. Fine. If this isn't giving me the signal, I'm going to wait for something that does.
Right. You don't get biased by your own idea. You use either the confirmation's there or it's not. It makes it very black and white.
Yeah.
Let's look at a couple of the other AI support stocks that are flashing green right now. These are ones that you wouldn't really just Google. Like, you can't just find these on a list, but these are ones from, again, the ideas that you have, the hypothesis, okay, money's leaving these stocks, it's moving into these. That's my idea. That's my opinion. Let's see if it's confirmed or not. And we come and we look at the MTI. These are extremely interesting. Here's one on PWR, which is Quanta Services, and this is pretty green. What does this company do?
Yeah, we just killed it on this company. They don't make chips. They don't write software. That's a good thing, right? They build the infrastructure that makes AI possible. So while everybody else is kind of cutting each other's throats in a race to the bottom on margins in very competitive areas, this is real boots on the grounds. They make money from it all. They get the phone call. They don't care if electricity costs are high or low. Guess what? In the build out of this phase of AI, they are absolutely going to be on auto dial. They handle everything: planning, design, installation, power grid, upgrading, fixing, maintaining. They do it all. It's real beautiful boots on the ground kind of stuff. And it's getting the reaction for that.
Are you trading this now?
What's that? Sorry, Hannah?
Are you trading this now?
Yeah. We just, I think we had a special situations. We made 88 or 91%. I can't remember exactly on a trade. And I love it. This is the kind of name where I would be looking for any reasonable pullback to reposition in here. We've had a whole bunch of great trades on it.
Good question in the chat. What does it mean when there's green and kind of a little red on the bottom? That's what Hans was talking about when he said that there's a point system. So what the MTI is measuring, what this confirmation is looking for is, we really want a full green is going to be actually more bullish than one that's green with a little red. Hans has a ranking system that he uses when he's entering and exiting trades. That's something he would teach you as a Turbo Income member. Super interesting on PWR here. That's a green that's outside of, the normal list you could find anywhere on the internet. Here's another one. This is Eaton Corporation, and this is actually yellow, not green. Why did you want to put this on your list here?
You know why? It's probably yellow because it's picking up that it was a little bit slower to the party, right? It's a late comer, Johnny come lately to the party here, and it's starting to get going. I don't always love buying the stragglers because there's a reason they were a straggler, but I have been interested in it because they're doing the right things, right? They manage power as well. There's switch gear, breakers, all this kind of boring stuff you don't think about, electrical systems. this allows for data centers to stay on, right? If you turn off the data center, well, guess what? The AI phase is on hold.
Right.
And so power is going to be a real big bottleneck. And these guys are a very important part of it. But I want to know that it's actually getting going, and it's almost there, I suspect.
Well, and there was also just a big announcement. The White House actually invested in Eaton Corporation. And you're starting to see this more and more. I'm assuming this is a bullish catalyst for you.
Absolutely. So this is we've talked about this before, Hannah. Is that if it's great to invest in an area where you have that backing from the government. Remember, we talked about it's a matter of national security. It's a matter of winning the AI race. So there's an incredible amount of tailwind support behind this kind of trade and this theme because of the government that's there and is going to be very supportive of this build out.
Can you explain what you mean when you say it's a matter of national security? What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, look, China is ahead in a lot of ways, right? They lead in power and robotics, in renewable power, if you can believe it. And so they're very, China doesn't have some of the rules that we have, without getting too deep into, how that works. But they are full speed ahead, and it's quite clear that the powers that be on our side of the pond do not want to lose. This has repercussions in terms of the military. It has repercussions in terms of drones and equipment. And I mean, this is important. Everybody agrees that you do not want to fall behind. Somebody's going to win, but you do not want to fall behind too much.
Would it be accurate then to say that it is likely that the government is going to invest in more companies to kind of ensure that this race is not lost?
Yeah, how great is that? I mean, this is all falls under the non-negotiables area, right? I mean, they're going to get involved, and they're going to spur activity. They want us to find more rare earths. They want us to build. We have dilapidated old electric systems, grids, and I mean, this stuff needs to be brought to a level that is appropriate for the level of power needs that we're going to have, and they are going to be massive.
Right. So it's very likely that there's basically a built-in catalyst here for potentially years to come, where the government might come in and partner with or support these companies, which obviously is going to be a positive catalyst for them. We should see a lot of green on the MTI there.
Yeah.
This is one of the last ones. This is the last one we're going to give away here. This is HUBB Hubble Inc. Why this one totally green? Look at that. Wow.
Look at that. Beautiful. Probably not on anybody's list, right? They make electrical components, connecting power to the grid, connectors, enclosures, all this sort of stuff. It's not flashy, but this is absolutely needed for this build out that is very necessary. And the reason I pick some of these stocks in a way, and I need the MTI to confirm, but I pick a lot of these areas to really focus on, because I don't want to pick the company that needs to charge people for electricity, because President Trump is going to come along and say, you're charging people too much. No, I don't want that. I want the companies that are going to get business no matter what. And it's not cyclical. It's not cyclical. This is structural. We are building, think of it as building a new New York City, like everywhere, all over the place. Right. And it's nonstop.
The last three examples we've gone through, these are more expensive stocks. You can see here, this one is $500. We gave these away today. You could go buy these. You could also go look at the options on these. Hans's plan is to use options to play these stocks. He uses the MTI to, of course, time his trade. But what would you say on average, Hans, for those of the people who are here today, who might join Turbo Income, what is the cost that you're normally spending on some of these upside options plays? How affordable are these? Hub's a $500 stock, but what does buying some options on Hub look like?
Well, that's the beauty of it. The way we structure the trades, you can trade a $500 stock for, $800, $900, $1,000. So, once we get into the leaps and things like that, maybe a little bit more, but the turbo trades are very, very cost efficient. So it doesn't have to be. And in fact, if somebody has a larger account, they want to allocate more, you can kind of adjust the trade yourself. And I teach you how to do that.
There's two examples here that we're going to show people, but you would need to join to actually get the name of this stock. These actually, I think there's three of them. These are the three that you're most excited about right now, Hans. Let's spend just a few minutes talking about each of these. And then I want to offer everyone an opportunity to join, to actually get these names, to get the options that you're going to trade on these names. So let's go through these last three. Again, you won't get the name of these because these are Hans. These are his trifecta, the ones he's most excited about right now. Let's talk about this first one.
Well, and this kind of plays into we need power now, we need power later, and we need lots of power in the future. And so this is, a large pipeline operator in the U.S. It's about energy flow, right? It's about things we need to get the power flowing right now. And I believe that this is one of the ways that we're going to do it, because nuclear is terrific. And I think we have to go in that direction. But that's kind of a later story. We need a right now story. And this company is very interesting to me. They're very good at expanding capacity. They're in the right parts of the country in order to take advantage of those sort of more energy intense areas. So I love that.
Our MTI is also well timed. It's turning green right now. This is only a $30 stock. So this is something that someone here today, you could add this to a stock portfolio in addition to buying some upside options on these that I'm sure would be much cheaper than the upside options you might be looking at on a $500 stock like Hub. Here's another one. This has been green for quite some time. We've seen a little yellow-red correction here. Also a less expensive stock. What's so important about this? Why is this in your top three here, Hans?
Well, I mean, this is about the elements, the inputs that have to go in, right? So remember, we're going into a period of scarcity beating the sort of digital application layer that really did well for many years. Software did great for 20 years, for example. Now it is under threat. And so the idea is that you look at the MTI on almost any software stock, maybe there's a trade in there for a day or two, but it is telling you that is a get in trouble area. I do not want to trade get in trouble areas unless I'm extremely nimble. Depends on everyone's style. So this is copper and wires and transformers. It's the stuff that we need for electrification, for the grid, for data centers, transmission, all this stuff. So it's the materials underneath the hood.
This final one is the pick that you're most excited about. Look at this chart. Look at the last month or so. We've gone pretty confidently green on the MTI, and this has already made a move from like 95 to 130. But you think that there's more room to run here still?
I think so. I'm extremely bullish on this still. And I bought the last dip down to 100 and it's had a little run. And so we're looking for a little bit of a dip. Hopefully we get it here because I think it really has some promise. This is about, almost inconceivable amounts of compute and data being created as a result and needing to move that data. What are we going to need to do? We're going to need to do it more efficiently. So this is a company that helps to supply a sector that actually has been doing very, very well despite all the difficulties in tech. And so it is very, very exciting. And it's something that, you would never think of as an AI stock, but it is in the heart of that scarcity and need to build out phase.
Two other reasons you love this. It actually just underwent an agreement with Meta to work together and to build some data centers. And in addition to that, the government also poured some money into this stock specifically. So not only do we have the ideas in play, the MTI is giving us confirmation, we have two huge catalysts of these partnerships that are also have pushed this stock right to the top of your list to trade some options on this soon, tomorrow, this week, next week.
Yeah, we've had some great trades on this. And what I always love to think about, Hannah, is the durability of a story, right? The durability of these stories is so incredibly solid. This is not going to be a one trade sort of, kind of thing. You're going to trade, you're going to get out, you're going to get back in, you're going to get out. This is going to be a whole lot of fun riding this wave over the next couple of years.
Stripes asks in the chat, are we in this in turbo? They want to be. If they're not, you have to talk to them about that. I want to show you guys some overall results. So we've gone through a lot of information. where we're at right now, the specific names that Hans is seeing that have yellow confirmation, green confirmation, the ones that we're seeing red on the MTI. These are examples of trades over the last year that were made during green MTI. So you can see some cost of these trades. You can see, how long Hans is normally holding these for. You can take a screenshot of this if you want and look at it more later. But you can see what type of returns you can expect. You can see the win rate. This is the first of 2 pages. So you can see a chunk of results here. And then here's the second page. Overall, average hold time around 51 days. Some of these are a lot shorter and some of them are longer. It just depends how long we have the green confirmation for. You can see the average return, and then you can also see $1,000 in each trade, where you would be at today, up 17,000. Again, these are only trades that are made when the confirmation is fully green and it has that 90% win rate like we were talking about. Now,
Sometimes, Hannah, I generally target about a 75 to 100% win on the turbo trades, but I'll let them run as well. And everybody's sort of got their own style. But we did a couple trades and somebody said, well, wait a minute, Hans, you had a target of 70%. And I took my profit on the 70 and now you're taking it at a 98%. And I said, well, sometimes I let it run, but that's at a very minimum is what I'm looking for. Because those turbo trades are very much about turbocharging that upside. So an income trade is going to typically be sort of between 15 and 25%. The turbo trades are where you're given that signal where that strategic greed kicks in and you go, you know what? I'm in risk markets, so let's go for it. Let's make the most of this move.
And turbo trades are the trades you're making when the MTI is green, when we have that green confirmation. So all the results I just showed you, these are from turbo trades. Now, during a yellow environment, you're going to be trading income, like you can see here. So this is when a stock doesn't have all that momentum to the upside, but it doesn't have it to the downside either. We're kind of trading within a range, and that MTI is going to be yellow. Here's some examples of trades made during that time. And you'll see names in here you're going to recognize. Tesla, Google, Meta, Costco, Broadcom, some of the ones we talked about today. The beauty of this is no matter what color we're seeing on the MTI, there's a trade to make, whether it's a turbo trade with a lot more upside, whether it's an income trade, or there are even some downside trades we'll show you in just a second. So for those of you that are here still, I want to talk to you for a second about Turbo Income, which is Hans' paid service where you can get access to all of these trades, including upside opportunity on some of the examples we showed you tonight that are both green and yellow. He releases trades on all types. So depending on if there's a green, a yellow, or a red, there's always a trade to make. Hans sends these out via trade alerts. You can receive them email directly to your phone. Christian, if we can post the link, I want people to be able to read all of this on the order form as I'm going through it. So we can just post that link up. It'll be right above Hans in my head in just a second. You can click the link. It's also over, we'll post it in the chat for you guys and get it pinned in there so you can click on that. I want you to be able to walk through this with me while I'm reading everything that's included. So trade alerts, of course, you're going to get. You're actually going to also get the MTI tool itself. There is a code that Hans will send you that you can either put inside of Thinkorswim, if that's the platform that you use. We also have a version that goes inside of TradingView, which is available for free, so you don't have to buy anything additional, but you will be able to see on any stock across the market at any time, whether it is yellow, green, or red. This is something that is a tool you can use. You're not just going to see Hans use it. You can use it yourself. And the deal we're going to show you guys today, if you click up above, you can see that black button that says get the MTI for yourself. If you click on that, right now the MTI is included in our lifetime membership and also in one of the annual memberships. You can either pay, I think it's $9.99 for a year that won't have the MTI included, or you can do, I think it's $17.99 for a year and the MTI is included. That is a limited time deal. It's only going to be available till midnight tonight. So I'll show you the prices in just a second. But right now we're including the MTI in one of the memberships And after tonight, it won't be included any longer. Hans, you also do weekly live trading. So it's not just, here's the tool, good luck, learn how to use it. You're going to teach everyone every week exactly what you're looking for, how this point system works, everything they would need to know to actually use it on their own. Because that is the goal long term. You want them to be able to look at the MTI on NVIDIA, on Costco, on ETN, and know exactly what trade they should make. Income, upside, maybe they're buying a put or betting against the stock, whatever it is, you're going to give them the tools to do that. So you meet with everyone once a week. There's a 24/7 chat room. One of the things I love about this is, say you guys do have the MTI and you're looking at a particular stock and you're not sure what it's telling you, you can go to that chat room and ask a question. Hey guys, I'm checking the MTI on this stock. What do you think? Hans is also in there, and you're very active answering questions that people have about MTI on certain stocks or about active trades. So you're never going to be alone. You're never alone. We're going to follow you. I'm just kidding. But you will always have a resource if you have a question on any particular trade. Something we didn't get into too much tonight, but is extremely key, Hans, is the ripcord. Do you want to talk about this for just a few minutes? This is a way to avoid bad trades or trades that go sour. Make sure that you don't lose 100%. You're losing less than that. You want to talk about the ripcord a little bit? This is very key to your strategy.
Yeah, so this is something that we teach to all the members, and of course we talked about there's weekly classes, and we have a really great paid premium section where you get to watch these great courses and resources that I've put together for you. Really kind of deep stuff, understanding volatility, understanding fear and greed, and how to kind of play within that sandbox of what we live in as option traders. And the ripcord is really important. So we have a system for, as you know, when a trade goes against you, I teach you that if a certain number goes over 60 a couple days in a row, and there's a way that you can actually program it to give you an alert in Thinkorswim, for example, and some other platforms as well. And that can kind of get you out of a position that starts to go against you, because we're not always going to get things perfect. And it's always important for everybody to sort of react in the way that's most appropriate for them. And this is a tool that I've really, really enjoyed using over time.
Most people, like, finding a winning trade is obviously great, but controlling a loss on a losing trade over time can have an extremely large effect on your portfolio. You guys probably know to just avoid 100% loss or a bigger loss and save some of that capital so that you can spin it into the next trade. It's a great way to make more money long term. Yeah. Here's just kind of a running list of a bunch of other things Turbo Income members receive. We have a course. You're going to get a watch list. We have actually a calculator that you can take certain size accounts and apply Hans's track record of trades. So you can see with your size account what your performance would have looked like. There is a full video library that Hans is constantly updating. There's different ways to scan for quality stocks. I actually love this. VR John Yonk in the chat just asked this question. Can you have a scanner for the MTI indicator? We're going to be working on something like that, where it'll actually serve up to you the stocks that right now are the best greens, the best yellows, the best reds. So for those of you that are still here, that is something that's coming. Look forward to that. We have some special reports for you guys on historical volatility versus implied. There's a free guide on the way implied volatility. Hans uses that. So those are just some other bonuses. Another bonus is to have access to leap trades. So these are going to be long-term trades on some of Honda's strongest ideas to profit from AI in the next 5 years. The average hold time for these historically has been about 33 days. It might be longer moving forward. Currently, Hans has an undefeated track record with these. You can see it right here. He's yet to lose on one of these opportunities, and more of these longer-term trades will be coming with AI. I want to show you guys a little bit of feedback from people who are actively trading with Hans right now, just so you can see. We don't ask for this feedback. We just get these from people, and we want to share it with you. Hans, as people kind of read these, what are you looking forward to most in the next week for Turbo Income? So we just went over, some stocks that have big green confirmation right now. I assume you'll be deploying some new trades, some upside trades, maybe some income trades. I know you'll be meeting with all of your members. Well, Monday we're off because the market's closed, so probably next Tuesday. What are you looking forward to most in the next week that for those who join Turbo Income tonight will be the next thing for them to look forward to?
Well, I think it's not arguing with the market, right? I think that's what gets people into trouble, and so a lot of people think that just because something's gone up means it's got to crash now or turn around, in a sort of severe way. But I think you kind of have to recognize the trend that's out there. And so what we go over in class is I show people a number of tools that I use to kind of get an idea of where that money is flowing into, and I think we have to sort of understand this regime change that we're talking very much about today, right? It's been a long time since staples have done well, since industrials have done well, and I think it's very important to really accept what the market is giving you and play within those new set of rules, and that's what we're going to be doing. Looking for turbos. We're getting a sell-off in some areas, and we've got some areas that are maybe a little bit overextended. We took some nice wins in a few of these infrastructure plays, and we're looking for an opportunity to get back in, but always looking for new things to do.
This comment, I applied Hans Turbo Trade strategy to RCAT and it's currently at 549%. It's still open, ... Love that. The goal long-term is to teach you guys how to use these strategies on your own, just like that. You can spot your own opportunities on stocks that you want to trade or that you love trading. Here's some more feedback. Make sure that you click that link above where you can get the MTI for yourself. Again, that one option that you're going to see on the order form. I'm actually going to skip ahead to this for you so I can show you this. Here's a couple of people who in one trade paid for their subscription. One of them was a 3-year subscription too. So here's the 3 options you're going to see on the form. You can get lifetime access in the MTI, that's $34.99. You can do 1 year plus the MTI for $17.99. That's the one that's expiring at midnight tonight. The 1 year and the MTI for $17.99 expires at midnight tonight. That's going to go to $24.99. The MTI is just too valuable. We cannot sell it for $17.99 for a year. So that price is going to be going up if you take that option. If you can't afford that, if you can't do that, but you do want to trade this, you can also just get a year of the alerts and the service without the MTI. That's going to be $9.99. Now you guys will see a phone number on your screen, 888-872-3301. We have a great customer care team. If you have any questions, call them. You might have some credits available. They do also work with you on some payment plans. You need to break this up into a couple chunks. So give us a call. Last question I'm going to throw to you, Hans. How long do you think this opportunity is going to last? Honestly, like how much do you think? Because this to me, like AI isn't going anywhere. Definitely not going anywhere.
No.
What's this over the 3 years?
It wasn't going anywhere. It wasn't going anywhere. And one of the nice things is we've sort of been ahead of the wave a little bit, quite a bit, as you explained early on in the presentation. So, I mean, I see this going on and changing. There will be different permutations of how AI plays out over the years, but this is going to go on. This build stage will go on for years and years, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And so I think it's going to be really kind of, retraining yourself. If you're trading on your own, you have to retrain yourself to start looking at the big, as I call it, there's a big, beautiful world out there outside of the Mag 7. And the Mag 7 will have its moment at some point. But I think this goes on for a very long time. It's that durable growth trend. I'm seeing charts. I watch a lot of sort of relationship charts. I'm seeing charts break out that looked poor for years, for a decade. So things are changing, and this is very, very important for everyone to realize. And join Turbo Income to be a part of that, to get those signals. Maybe you don't have time to watch all this stuff. Well, that's even better because I do that for you. You've got the MTI to do that for you. And that is going to help to get you to the finish line, to that goal that you have.
Get in on the ground floor here on this movement. Join Turbo Income. You have 3 options when you join today. That second one there, the 1 year in the MTI, that's going to expire at midnight tonight. So I encourage you to take, if you're going to take the option, do it now. You can call our team. Hans obviously going to have some big trades coming in the next few days. The first live session is going to be next Tuesday. So join us. Click that order form, give us a phone call. You can even scan that QR code above my head if you're on your computer, and it'll make it so you can enter your order. So get into Turbo Income. This is going to be a sustained trend, and we'll still be talking about this for free and to everyone. But in order to actually get the option trades and the upside and some of the opportunity that we showed you here tonight, you got to be a member. So I encourage everyone here to join Turbo Income. Hans, thank you for your time. I appreciate you coming on and talking about this, showing the opportunity, giving away so many things for free here tonight. Again, we'll send you guys those stocks via email. If you didn't get the chance to write everything down, we'll get that sent out to you. But thanks for being here. And for everyone who came to watch, thank you. I hope you wrote down some of the stocks we talked about tonight. I hope you get into some of this opportunity, and mostly I hope you join Turbo Income. The biggest upside is going to be there. So
Thanks, Hannah. Thanks, everybody, for coming.
thank you. Talk to you guys later. Click that button.
See you, folks.